welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be one of three videos, one of a three-part video. I wanted to do a pregnancy, labor and delivery, and then recovery video all in one, but I feel like that would be too long, so I've decided to break them up in three parts. I don't know if you can see her, but she's taking a nap right here, so luckily she'll sleep through it, I hope. She kind of just got to sleep. But I also have my little notes so I don't get as distracted as I normally do, and I'm going to see if that helps. That way these videos aren't everywhere anymore. But I do also just want to get straight into it. This is my pregnancy video, and like how we found out and so on and so forth. So, we found out that I was pregnant in 2017 in January, relatively right after the new year, right after Kona's birthday too, which is on the 2nd of January, which is coming up. My body was telling me that I was pregnant before my hormones were, so I had taken multiple false pregnancy tests, and it just, my body kept saying no, or my hormones kept saying no, you're not pregnant, no, you're not pregnant, but my body was saying I was tired, I had morning sick, I was pregnant. So I was talking to my coworker about it, and we decided, she had talked to me and she told me that if I go to Planned Parenthood, then they could take my blood and that it would work that way. And they could see if I'm pregnant in my blood, if my hormones won't tell me in my pee. So we went to Planned Parenthood, made an appointment, or walked in, I don't remember, but we went there, I peed in the cup, it came out false, and I had already known it was going to do that, but still had a little bit of hope that it wouldn't, but it did. And the lady had basically asked me my symptoms and said that she doesn't know why my body is doing this, but I'm not pregnant. And then I told her that, well, my coworker had told me that you guys could do a blood test to see if I really am pregnant, and I really do want to know. And she just looked at me and said, oh, I don't think this is necessary in this case. And the way she had said it, like, broke my heart. So I basically just said whatever. She had me make an appointment for birth control. I made the appointment. I had no intentions in going. I actually didn't go to that appointment, but I made it anyways. That way, just, I don't know, go with the flow type thing, I guess. And so after that, I decided to wait 2 weeks. My fiance and I did. We agreed that if I don't start my period in 2 weeks, then I will take another test, and I did. I did not start my period, so I took another test, and it came out that I was pregnant. We were both super happy. He did a little happy dance. I teared up a little bit. I really didn't cry much through the whole pregnancy because of the pregnancy. Hormonal-wise, I cried all the time. It was extremely hormonal. And then after that, like, we made an appointment with our OB, so my first trimester symptoms was morning sickness. I was tired all the time. My breastises hurt, and I was extremely moody. And I'm an emotional person, so my emotions, like, I'm not shy to share my emotions. And so, being moody on top of that, I feel really bad for my fiance. And my first trimester went by pretty quick. I didn't know I was pregnant until I was about 2 months pregnant. So the last month went by pretty quick. And then my second trimester went pretty easy. Morning sickness was completely gone. You have to get a glucose test when you're 28. I don't know. When you're a certain amount of weeks pregnant, I know it's in your second trimester, you have to get a glucose test. So I got mine, and, I actually liked the taste. I passed it, and then we just moved on after that. I had this overwhelming crave for cheeseburgers. I wanted cheeseburgers all the time, from second trimester on. And it's funny because she's 4 months pregnant in 2 days, and I still love cheeseburgers. Like, there's just special love for them now, but I don't eat them or want them as much as I did when I was pregnant. But also, 2 events that happened while or in my second trimester was that we found out her gender, first of all, and we found out her gender pretty close to Easter, so we just waited to tell everybody on Easter. I made cupcakes that were stuffed with pink icing, just the I call it a traditional way, but I guess it's like a really common way to do it. And then I also felt her kick for the first time on Mother's Day, and so that I cried a little bit then, because that came real. Like, there really is a little human inside me. This is really gross, but amazing at the same time. So that really does wrap up my first trimester, my second trimester, I mean. My third trimester is when things got a little interesting and eventful. I had a pretty uneventful pregnancy until I was 36 weeks pregnant. But before I get into that, first of all, when you're 36 weeks pregnant, it gets super personal. They do take a little swab and test for some stuff, but you'll find that out more. Your OB will talk to you more about it. Oh, and when I was 28 weeks, I had to get a Rogram shot, which is, I am O negative, my blood type is O negative, which means I am Rh negative, which means my blood has no protein in it. That does not mean anything for me, but for my baby, it could mean that my body will, like, try to delete her. It'll cancel her out. Not necessarily Tyler, but other babies, it will try to do that. So they basically give you a Rogram shot to hide her blood type, which is A positive, to hide her blood type so that my body can carry another baby without my blood trying to cancel it out and delete that foreign thing. It really wasn't bad. The shot does go in your butt cheek, and it didn't hurt. The medicine hurt, but the shot itself didn't hurt. The needle didn't hurt at all. I would definitely get a shot in my butt before I get one in my arm again, but it's also a little awkward. So it really wasn't, but it was. The nurse was super cool and super funny, so it was really great. It really wasn't awkward, but that happened, and everything went well. That was when I was 28 weeks pregnant. When I was 36 weeks pregnant, they take a swab, and it's a little personal, but, like, personal, what's it? But yeah, it's a little personal, but it's not bad. It's quick and easy. And again, I like when my nurses and doctors talk to me through things, like, not through, like, what they're doing, but talk to me, like, carry a conversation with me, keep my mind off of it. That way I'm not thinking so hard. That I like. When I was 36 weeks pregnant, also, we ended up getting in a car accident. We got rear-ended on the I-5, which is a freeway, and we got rear-ended at about 40 miles, 40 or 50 miles, 45 or 50 miles per hour, and it slammed us. She slammed us, and then we slammed into the car in front of us. So we kind of, like, our heads went boom, 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 something like that. So, since then, my back has still hurt, and last night was probably one of the most painful nights with my back. And also since then, I get super anxious in the car rides. I remember when she was born, we had to go back to the hospital to get a weight check, and I cried the whole way there because of the traffic on the freeway. I'm super nervous on the road, on the freeways now, and I used to love traffic. I used to love being on the freeway, and so it's a little nerve-wracking. But it did throw me into contractions. I did start going into early labor, but they really weren't alarmed. I went to my doctor's appointment afterwards. Nobody was hurt. Everybody was fine. Our car took most of the damage. Our car was practically totaled afterwards. We couldn't open our trunk. And when it finally decided to open, we looked down in it, and you could see the actual street through our trunk on the inside. So, our front end had no damage, except for our license plate was like dangling on one screw or bolt or whatever it's called. But our back end was probably the worst. And we actually don't have that car anymore. We still went to my doctor's appointment because that's where we were on our way to, and they hooked me up on a machine for about 20 minutes, and because of how many contractions I had and that I only felt a little bit of them, and I didn't know that, I wouldn't have known that they were contractions unless my doctor had told me, or I would have seen it on the machine. I didn't know, I could feel it, but I didn't know it was a contraction. I thought it was just like, I don't know. I didn't know it was contraction. How are you supposed to know what they feel like? So they decided after 20 minutes on the machine, because of how many contractions I had, that I should go to the hospital. So we went to UW, which is where Tyler was born, and they hooked me up on the machine, but they couldn't find her heartbeat where the normally was, which is on the bottom of your belly, and so they went on top. And that's when they decided to take an ultrasound and found out that she was breech. At the same time that they told me that she was breech is also the same time that I got the first IV that I remember getting, and she had to re-poke me. I was terrified of getting an IV, and then on top of finding out that she was breech, I passed out. I totally passed out. I remember, it's really hard to remember when you do pass out. Like, it got cold, it was sweaty, and then I just started going to sleep. It was, to me, it was like, it really wasn't that bad, but I'm pretty sure to everybody around me, which was the nurses and my fiance and his dad, like, that's a super stressful moment. That's super scary. When I woke up, I remember I was only out for like a minute or two, I think. But at least that's what it felt like. But when I woke up, they ended up putting a mask on me. It was the first time I'd ever had oxygen too, because I couldn't breathe. And I kept wanting to say sorry to Josh. I don't know why, but I just had this overwhelming feeling to say I'm sorry to him. And then after that, after I was able to like be okay and I started smiling, and Josh calmed down and I calmed down and everybody was okay, they took the mask off me. I was breathing like a normal human again, and then we moved on. We found out that Tyler was breech, and I knew that she would be okay. She would be fine. So I was okay with, like, I was fine with it after the initial, passing out. And they 24 hours on the monitors, and I still had contractions, but I wasn't dilating. So they just sent me home with a scheduled C-section, or not a scheduled C-section, a vision. They decided to do a vision, which is when they try to turn your baby, from head up to head down like it's supposed to be. So I had to wait till I was 37 weeks pregnant, because when they do a vision, they can leave bruises on your belly, which they did. They can break your water, and the baby's heart rate can go down, which Tyler's did. So they have to, like, at 37 weeks is when they can take a baby out C-section with little to no problems. So we waited till I was 37 weeks, and we went back to the hospital to get a vision, and it failed. It didn't work. Tyler was so stubborn and so stuck underneath my rib that she wasn't going to move. So we we were pretty much, like, we had no choice but to have a C-section. So they planned the C-section for August 22nd, 2017 at 8 a.m. Yeah, at 8 a.m. And we had to be there 2 hours before. So we were supposed to show up at 6 and then have the C-section at 8. And then she would be born by like 8:30, 8:45. And then the vision failed, and so they planned a scheduled C-section. And when we went in for the C-section on August 22nd, we were there at 5:45. And they pretty much just went straight into the motions, and the nurses came in to make sure that Tyler was still breech so that they wouldn't be doing a C-section for no reason. So I can go home. If she wasn't breech, then I would be able to go home and carry on with my life and wait for her to come naturally. And she ended up flipping while this ultrasound was going, so we got to watch her flip. Because of how easily she flipped on her own, which means I had a lot of fluid still, like amniotic fluid, she had enough room to flip on her own. So they asked me how I felt about inducing, and I was all up for it because I didn't want her to flip while I was at home, and because I didn't feel her flip. You couldn't, like, it just felt like she was just moving around. She felt like my little thundercloud while I was pregnant. So I didn't really feel it, and so I wouldn't have known if she was to flip back, and I didn't want to have my water break and then contractions and then go to the hospital and find out that I have to have a C-section, and it's officially going to be an emergency C-section because this baby is breech again. So they put, so we induced labor, and that stops us from pregnancy, and that right there continues us into labor and delivery. So this is it for this video, and I will be posting this one, but part 2 and 3 probably won't be like right after this video. I might do a few videos before I do part 2, or I might do just straight into part 2. I'm not sure yet, but part 2 will come, part 3 will come, and yeah. So thank you so much for watching, and this is what I experienced. If I missed anything, I will put them right before I start my part 2 video, and that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next week. Bye guys!